A huge night in the Champions League. We want to hear from you. Get involved. 03717 22 3 Let's go to Mark, who's a Rangers fan. All right, Mark?
Marky
yes,
Mark.
I'm good, boys. How are you?
Yeah,
Right,
we're
Marky
good.
Mark.
Probably a lot better than you right now.
Absolutely, yeah. I'm banging my head against a window, a wall, and anything else I can find that's solid. Jason took the words right out of my mouth. Embarrassing. Absolutely embarrassing. That is shocking.
Yeah, it's not a great advert for Scottish football the last two nights, really, is it?
Well, it's not. I've got a sympathy card for Ali McCoist. I don't know if he's in work tomorrow, but maybe you can leave him. I don't know, something. But it's in that 7-1. Mm-hmm. Really, 7-1 when you score first.
Yep. Liverpool was sensational in front of goal. I mean, utterly ruthless. But you're right, and the golfing class was there to be seen, wasn't it? In the end,
they fell apart though, didn't they, Rangers?
No, they did fall apart. I mean, they capitulate completely. But then you've got someone like Salah that can come off the bench. I mean, there's the difference right there, isn't it? In some ways, you want to look at the difference between where the two sides are. You've got Salah on the bench.
It's Champions League now. Come on. You know,
Yeah.
Rangers went on about it, Mark, last season. You know, they're back in the Champions League. Done unbelievable to get there, and they say, we want to get an English club. We'll show them what we're made of. Come on, you're getting embarrassed.
How can any player come on and score a hat-trick in 6 minutes? Mm. Really? I mean, he's been nowhere this season, and then suddenly Klopp sends him on and says, "Go on, fill your boots, son. You might as well. This is turnover time. Let's go on there, get a few goals." So he gets 3 or whatever. Now, last year was an aberration. It was an aberration. We got to how we got there. I've no idea, but I'm just so embarrassed.
Well, the worst case scenario is that both you and Celtic don't get Europa League football.
Brazil should get one as well, a sympathy card, because it's pathetic. It's such a sad indictment on Scottish football that this has happened. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Yeah. All right, Mark, thanks for your call. Ali McCoy and Alan Brazil are both on the breakfast show in the morning.
Imagine that conversation between those two. I mean, neither of them have got anything. I mean, they must come. That's going to be that's a horrible show to listen to. Isn't it? Horrible show to do.
No, it's going to be good. I'll be listening to Ali, that's for sure. Let's go to Ash, who's a Liverpool fan. All right, Ash?
Evening, boys. How are we?
Yeah, Ash, a big performance tonight. You needed that one.
Do you know what? We did need it, and we needed something to put a smile back in our face, and I feel like this performance was exactly that. I mean, if I'm being perfectly honest, I wasn't entirely over the moon with the first half performance, but, it just goes to show you what quality this Liverpool side have, and we do have it. Don't forget, this was a team that was competing for the quadruple last year, and just magically overnight, we've lost that. That.
Don't say spark. Touch. Don't say the word spark.
No, don't say. I'm not saying the spark. Honey, but I'll still be honest. There were still a lot of points there. I mean, I don't know what this is all about. Us conceding first every single time. It's getting a bit boring. It's almost like we're giving a handicap to every single team before we start a game. And you guys have played the game. You should know when you step out on the pitch. You say to each other, right, first things first. Let's make sure we're tight next to these players, and let's not get nothing through. And the boys are just failing to do that every single game. And you have 3-4 games in a row where they do that, but we're talking 9 or 10 games where the other teams, going ahead first, and it's becoming unacceptable. But I hope they can use this as a point where they can sort of go ahead with the rest of the season and make something out of it. I believe we've got way more of a chance in the Champions League than the Prem.
Yeah.
Because in the Prem, I feel like other teams, they have sussed us out to play, and they don't give us the time or the respect to play our football. Whereas in the Champions League, it's a bit of a different story. The other teams will give you a bit more respect, and they will give you a bit more time to play the football. And as Rangers found out tonight, if you give Liverpool a bit of space.
Group stages, though, Ash. It's the group stages. Yeah. Let's see once we get into the latter stages of the tournament.
This was a very, very weak Rangers side. I mean, the quality of the two teams was very visible. I'd like to see us go ahead and get a top side. I don't think the result would be like that. But there is still a lot of improvements to be made. But I just definitely wanted to say this: the caller before, the Rangers fan, I think Mal, he was talking about, Jurgen being on the chop board. If Liverpool were to get rid of Jurgen Klopp, it would be one of the biggest mistakes in the history of the club. I would be behind Jurgen Klopp even if we were relegated in the Championship.
Mm-hmm. And I agree.
You're behind him in the goal queue then, if that happens. He ain't keeping his job there.
No.
Say that again, Cundy.
You'll be behind him in the goal queue. There's no way he's keeping his job. He gets relegated. But I take your point. And no one's going to get rid of Klopp anytime soon. But when you're at a big club like Liverpool, massive club at Liverpool, and all of a sudden, not just the results but the performances, there's a real downturn. They're halfway down the Premier League. Now, they're not out of... You said last night they're out of top four. They're not out of top four. Oh, they're not. They're not out of top four.
I think they are, Jace.
But
they are.
They're not out of top four. There's no way Liverpool are out of top four.
Too many good teams. No. Look, you've turned over a Rangers side tonight who are shocking. Yeah. Right, shocking. 7-1, great. I think they've got more chance of winning the Champions League than getting in the top four.
They're not out of top four. They're not. They're not, mate. There's no question they're having a rough ride right now, right? And they keep conceding the first goal. They've got to stop doing that. Because what that does... It gives the team, okay, not tonight, but you saw what happened to Brighton the other day, right? They took the lead. They went 2-0 up. Now all of a sudden there's a side playing with a swagger. And Liverpool, because they keep conceding the first goal, have got to go chasing the game. Keep going, like against Arsenal, right? Imagine having to keep trying to chase the game. Liverpool are at their best, where they've got you in where they want you, 1-0 up, when you've got to start chasing the game. In those games there, very few of them are Liverpool in a position where they love to be, where they can actually... to have teams come onto them a little bit more. That's where Liverpool have destroyed. You go back last season, mate, what they did in the Champions League at some teams in the early parts, right?
Yeah.
They go 1-0 up, 2-0 up, and they just wipe teams out. That's not happening right now. There's a problem. Stop conceding the first goal.
Well, why do you think they keep conceding the first goal? Is it Van Dijk? Well, I mean, look, Trent didn't play tonight. 1-7-1.
They're not at their very, very best right now. There's no question about that. They're not at their very, very best. And maybe there's a little bit of that... playing against Liverpool 18 months ago, you were scared. Mm-hmm. They've lost that bit of, where some teams go on the pitch and they're almost 2-0 down. They've lost that now. Liverpool have got to get that back, especially at Anfield. Yeah. Especially they're the games where Liverpool would tear you apart. They've lost that.
All right, let's go to Sean, who's a Rangers fan. All right, Sean.
How you doing, lads? You all right?
Yeah, good, Sean. You can't be happy with that tonight. It was almost embarrassing in the end.
Mate, you keep using the word embarrassing. I'm not so sure, mate. I'm not so sure.
7-1, Sean. Come on, it's embarrassing.
How can you say embarrassing? Our starting 11 was worth 14 million.
Oh, okay, but you're in the Champions League, Sean.
Mate, but that's just the way...
You got to the Europa League final last season.
Mate, that's the way we qualified, mate. We just got through. We got through the qualifiers. We beat PSV. Starting 11's 14 million. You brought on what? I don't even know how much Salah's worth. What, 150 million? Come on, mate.
No, but you lost 7-1, Shawnee. Sean, come on, mate. Sean, you should be embarrassed. You should be, mate. You should be.
Liverpool pumped Southampton 9-0 this season.
Bournemouth. Yeah, but you're absolutely right, and that's embarrassing.
How much have Southampton spent on players last year?
No, it's Bournemouth, but yes, you're right, and that's embarrassing.
One of these 100 million, I don't know how much have Bournemouth spent. More, I think.
Yeah, but it's still embarrassing. They got beat 9-0. It's still embarrassing, Sean.
Mate, but have they spent 14 million? Our starting 11 was worth 14 million, mate.
I mean, Sean, honestly, Sean. So you, Sean.
Listen, we were punching above our weight last season. We did unbelievable.
You did.
And if you know about Scottish football, right? If you know about Scottish football, we have players bang off form. Gio got it tight last week for playing defensive, so he came out this week and we got pumped. That's fine, but it's definitely not embarrassing, mate. Definitely not embarrassing.
It is, Sean. Sean, at any level of football, to concede 7 goals, I'm sorry, Sean. So I'm sorry. You and you know what, Sean? You know it is.
No, it's not.
You do.
Look, mate, I would have phoned up if I wasn't.
You should be, Sean. You should be embarrassed on your side.
Why?
Because you've been pumped 7 at home.
Mate, come on. Liverpool have done that to plenty of better teams than Rangers, mate.
And so they should be embarrassed as well.
Our whole midfield was free transfers apart from Ryan Kent. 7 million from Liverpool. Come on,
at any level. No.
At least I'm being realistic.
I know, but Sean, at any level
to concede 7.
You're acting like Rangers are not a huge club. You're acting like you weren't in Europa League final. Like you're not fighting for the title up in Scotland. Like, come on, it's the Champions League. You got to give better than that.
Mate, look, mate. Be honest, mate. You're not being realistic. You're just trying to provoke callers. Be honest.
What do you mean? Are you joking me, Sean? Are you having this phone call with a straight face? You conceded 5 goals in 30 minutes. Are you saying that that's okay?
Mate, come on.
You were 2-1 down on an hour.
How much money is a Liverpool starter?
Sean, you got Shawnee. Sean,
forget money, Sean. Forget money. These are still
what
top
about a
players.
little bit of heart, a little bit of fight? There was, honestly, at the end of it, mate, I felt. You know what? I felt sorry for Rangers players. I felt sorry because they just they had no idea they were getting torn apart. And that's a Liverpool side, by the way, right now that are struggling for a little bit of form.